Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Analyzing History. Today I've chosen to talk about Karens. It's an idea that I haven't been able to get rid of for the last couple of years, and I actually think that it's a pretty fascinating subject to study, both in terms of psychology and history. And apparently I had such a blast writing this episode that the final script ended up being more than 20 minutes long. And since the whole point of the Analyzing History series was to be able to produce quick and short videos, I've decided to turn this into a mini-series instead. I will try to see if it's possible to get an episode out every week until it's finished, but if not, then there will definitely be one out every other week, so make sure to stay tuned. This first video will be about what Karens are, and I will explain a theory that I have about why there seems to be so many Karens around us. So, first off, let's make sure that everyone knows what a Karen is. If we look up the term Karen, we get this definition. Karen is a pejorative slang term for an obnoxious, angry, entitled, and often racist middle-aged white woman who uses her privilege to get her way or police other people's behaviors. Basically, it has become a slang expression for someone who is very entitled and creates a lot of trouble when they don't get their way. So, how would one go about finding a possible historical reason for why we see so many Karens in our society today? Well, a couple of years ago, I read two books called Think Like a Freak and Freakonomics by the same pair of authors. I really recommend them. I'm in the process of rereading them right now, and what I really like about them is that they teach you how to look at the big picture when trying to find the cause of something. Based on that foundation, I have a theory that I would like to share with you all, and at this point, I'd also like to come with a little small disclaimer here. This video is just a simple observation of some patterns that I've noticed throughout the historic events that I have studied. That observation may be true, or it might not be true. The point of this video series isn't necessarily to recite history as accurately as possible, but rather to get all of us to see history from a different perspective, to be able to analyze it and understand it a little bit better. In any case, I think that it's an interesting study for anyone who has an interest in history. So, let me tell you my theory, and then you can decide for yourself if you think that there's any credence to it. Right. I believe that the origin of the wave of Karens that we see today might be found in the history of America, more precisely, the United States of America. That's not to say that the US is the only place where Karens exist, we have them here in Denmark as well, but the US have been a major influence on the rest of the world for centuries. So, what am I on about? Well, if you were to name a theme for the USA throughout its history, what would that be? Well, ask any American, or anyone else for that matter, to finish this sentence. America is the land of the... Chances are that most people who would answer that question non-facetiously would say America is the land of the free. Freedom has been the major theme throughout most of the historic events in America. And the more I delve into the subject, the more I see a pattern of two conflicting views on freedom. Those would be what I call societal freedom versus personal freedom. Societal freedom I would define as a society where no one is forced to live in a way that they don't want to. There are no serfs, no slaves, no caste system, and any person are free to pursue any career or have any hobby or interest that they might want to. This holds up pretty well with one definition of the American dream that defines it as the ideal that every citizen of the United States should have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative. But then there is the personal freedom, which is where things start to become a little bit tricky and paradoxical. Let's take an example. Henry here is completely free to walk over to Gary and tell him that he's both stupid and ugly. But that conflicts with Gary's freedom not to be insulted. So, Gary exercises his freedom, which then happens to conflict with Henry's freedom to have children. And this is where the societal freedom and the personal freedom has to make a compromise. If you exercise your personal freedom in a way that negatively impacts or removes other people's personal freedom, then your own personal freedom might be taken away from you to a greater or lesser extent. My theory is that some parts of the population throughout history has confused or blurred the lines between their own personal freedom and the societal freedom of the country in which they live. So, Let's try to take a look through the history of the United States from the beginning until now and see if we can spot some trends. But that will have to wait until next week, where we will start at the very beginning of the American society that exists today, the year 1492. But before I leave, I just want to thank every one of you once again for being here. This channel has just passed 1,000 subscribers. Some of you have started to support the channel on Patreon, and I'm completely over the moon about how everything is going here and the feedback that you all give me. I read every comment, I reply to as many as I can, and I count every like and subscriber daily. I just want to say a great big thanks to the people who support me on Patreon already. The best example I have on how much of a help this is to me is that last month I actually used your help, the donations that you've given me, to buy groceries because I didn't have any money left for the rest of the month. So I am humbled and I am so grateful for the people who choose to help there, and I hope that you feel like you're getting your money's worth with these videos. So everything that you see here on the channel and everything that's happening right now, this is absolutely a dream coming true for me, and I really appreciate all of you for being here. So with that being said, I hope to see you all in the next episode of Stick Figure History.